Oh, Calais, what a frabjous day. Oh, yes. So, I'm having myself a nice cold one on one of my night before my day off. Figure check in on my Eve Online, see what's going on. I think I'm moving one of my characters from, I'm right now in Caldari space, and somebody, you see, you're not supposed to, of course, go to Space Detroit, Tama. But there's this part of me thinking, I'm like, this character is supposed to be my character that I learn. I've skilled him so he will be able to fight. So I'm like, okay, no, that's what you gotta do. You know, the game has so much content that, I mean, you've done the farming part, you've done the building part, you've done the missions, you've done this, you've done that. Now it's time for this guy to go looking for danger. You know, and you just die and come back. So, and now I also have built like a lot of frigates and have a lot of material for frigates. Thank you, Silent Company. And there was a shortage on the Cayman Jack attack, but now it's back with the Cayman Jack attack. So I was going to check out some YouTube, see what's going on. But one of the things I wanted to bring up that was very important is that you see the left. This is one of the best things about people like Antifa and stuff like that. They're informationally, they're low information literacy. So it's as if they were to read words and not really know what they meant because they had not been taught phonics. So they couldn't like put together like these pieces of a word. It has to have something to do with this, or because of the ISSE. This is a French word. The ISSE means this. You know, all those kind of things. They're low information literacy when it comes to like, so because they don't get like the Democrats are the same people they were before the Civil Rights Act. All the people who are big donators, the families who were in the Democratic Party and big top people who for generations they hold the galas, they hold the events. These people they're the same people from before the Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act was Republican legislation from 100 years prior to the passage of all those Civil Rights Acts. 100 years. Antifa doesn't know this. Antifa doesn't know that the Republican Party was trying to pass the Civil Rights Acts for 100 years, and that everything that the Democrats created, everything that happened to Indians, could not have been done without the Democrats and their dominance, total dominance of the bureaus. And then the Bureau of Indian Affairs, all this kind of stuff. This is why they loved welfare. This is why they love welfare, because then you could control the blacks. You could control them. You could look out for them. Because Antifa doesn't get this. They don't get their inherent problems that they have. What the hell is that? It's as if there's some. Okay. It's as if like a fly is caught in something and it keeps trying to get out or something, or it's bumping up against something, or a light, and I keep hearing the wings, and I'm like, where is it, though? But, just getting old. I hate flies. That's the other reason why. I hate critters during the summer. As many of you who watch this channel will note from past episodes. So one of the things that there's this idea of like psychology and projecting, and that the Democrats love this idea that they're more advanced and enlightened and they understand the psychology. Like they don't get books on psychology, raising your kids according to certain new psychological this, that, and the others. Like what's the latest in psychology? That's been normal for America since the 1920s. Christians and Christian psychology has been a thing. Like there is no such thing as reforming a person without Christian psychology. The Christians are where applied psychology really comes from in practice. It's loosely, there's some stuff that came out of Europe that we ended up putting together, but Christians were doing this for harlots, whores, and drunks, and opium dope heads, like for literally like over 100 years. And it was not until after really about the 40s or 50s, well, probably the late 30s really, that you start seeing this desperate attempt to try to fuse like light, Kabbalah light, especially from the Rosicrucian tradition. Want to make sure I put this in there? Okay, the Georgia Guidestones, those are Rosicrucian. That's why the person who supposedly built them is named R.C. Christian. Like, if you don't know this, somehow you've missed, like, one of the most important sections of, like, untold Western history about the Rosicrucians. You should look up the Rosicrucians. You should watch a few videos on them. You know, it's one of the first viral memes. Rosicrucianism was one of the first truly international viral memes. People thought Rosicrucians appeared in the night in their apartments, and I mean, all kinds of things. But that is all modern Rosicrucian stuff. I'm thinking it came out of the Clymer, K-L-Y-M-E-R bunch. If anybody knows anything, I would gladly accept. It could have been Amorc. It doesn't seem like it was Amorc. Because honestly, it's that Amorc really would focus way more on trying to take some credit for it, honestly. But Clymer's bunch, you almost never even see anything about them. You know, and so that's why I'm thinking that it might have come out of that group of Rosicrucians. It also seems like it would fit with the time, because also there's a certain period of time you almost see nothing out of that end of Rosicrucianism. The people KLY, the Clymer group. I have to look more into it, because Amorc is one. There's Clymer, and then there's these other far lesser known Rosicrucian kind of groups that do go back to something, which is was some type of cluster of German spiritualists, Christian German spiritualists, that these people did exist, and that they did come over here, and that there's ample evidence of that. There's ample evidence that there's people who really did try to create some kind of tradition that was fundamentally Christian, that was something very orthodox, or not orthodox, but very kind of fundamentally very conservative in their lifestyles, very mystical. Now, the specifics of it, I don't know. That's why, like, lifestyle, there's very scant writing about this that I've found that's good, but I mean, there's also stuff that I kind of would read and then I'd put down because it was so poorly written. Some of you might know there's a really good, a big fat book on Rosicrucians, but as you know, if you know what book I'm talking about, holy crap, slogging through this guy's fucking writing. You're slogging. After a while, you're like, wait. Okay, you have a great way of it just putting a lot of flourish on this. But that's what the Georgia Guidestones really are. They're obviously a Rosicrucian thing. If it's any secret society kind of thing, no. And everything. By the time I saw them, like, wasn't very interested in them. And when I saw like what this was supposed to be, I'm like, oh my god, really? Like, I'm like, really? This is people, woo. People are like, woo. It's like, no, this is the Rosicrucians. It might as well, oh my god, might as well say it. Might as well have a book stand with all those weird Guru Nagachanda books that you get from them and stuff. How to be a mystic. The deep secrets of the secrecy of the Rosicrucians, the Rosicrucian order. Shh, don't tell anybody. Book for $9.99. Anyway, the idea that the left does is really good at picking up on all these subtleties of the human psyche. But not true at all. So not true at all. Because people on the left tend to be people that it's the rear of the brain that's working. They're creatives, they're visual, they're sensual, they're more driven by emotion, so they aren't using the rational part of their brain that actually picks up on the way somebody, rubs their face, the way that their nose, they snort, they sniff, they do all these various things. When they try to do this, like, especially when you've known a lot of liberals, like you've known a lot of them, like I have, that you really start to hear, and you're like, holy crap, these people can't size a person up well at all. And this is why they admire the criminal sociopath / psychopath, and this is why they end up having to, not only is it the high amount of genetic mutation that shows itself in the brain, as Dutton talks about, that these people will be weirdos. They'll be weird in some way, and some they naturally come off as a little weird, and because of the period of millennials were raised in, this idea, I'm a freak and a geek. Whoa, I'm so kooky. I say kooky things, and I'm into kooky things. By the time they're an adult and in a bar, they're saying really, they're just saying like stuff like, oh, now I've got drink in me, and I'm a pretty girl, and I could just say totally outrageous shit about men, about white society, about just all kinds of stuff, and after a while, you just finally realize, you're like, no. One, these people don't really, they're always looking for diversity, so it seems as if they actually have never really been around people not very much like themselves. Two, so that's the first thing, they somehow have avoided people who are in any way different than themselves. Which is its own thing, because even among Europeans are vastly different from one another. Even hundreds of years out of Europe, they're vastly different than one another. So obviously it's that they've gone out of their way to not understand people who might look a lot like them, but they don't understand. No, this person has a totally different cultural viewpoint. The memory that they have, that was told from family member to family member. This is also something that I want to say leftists can't fathom that idea. Wisdom is something, they don't know what that is. They really don't. This is why you find in mystical writings and secret societies and stuff that's a heavily artist class, educated class. Remember, whole Third Reich was run by a bunch of guys who were multi-degreed people. They were into the high arts, and they were into mysticism. For some reason, this has some factor in the Nazis over in Ukraine, that they're into this crazy mysticism, that racial mysticism. You find this among the pro-blacks, and that goes back all the way to the period. I mean, just the same thing with the white Israelite movement. All this stuff that's going back to the early 1900s, and especially after the Rosetta Stone was discovered, just this kind of explosion in interest in things. You could see certain books come out on subjects because of different events in archaeology, or different events in some kind of social movements. Fascism made a lot of people want to find a new collective, so that's why racial collectivism became this big thing, is because they need to find a true collective. And people, Marxist collectivism just doesn't speak to anyone, except for mostly the mentally ill, the deficient, and the criminals. Eric Hoffer really gets into why Marxism particularly, or how it particularly seems to find such a viable host environment, and people, because people don't want to associate stuff like fascism and National Socialism with Marxism, which Hayek walks right through. He just walks right through all the people you're not supposed to talk about, who were the big names in socialism for a short while in Germany as it went into Volkisch socialism, as Volkisch collectivism. And that will never go away. And that's why that's why Hitler and so many fascists like Islam, is because Islam it offers this fantastic collectivism that is a strong collectivism based on a rapist, thief, murderer, and slaver. And so he was everything human, the worst aspects of all humans, and God loved that. God blessed him with territory and women and underage girls, and he got to torture Jews, and so it just naturally speaks to the mentality of people who are into fascism. They really like, and especially that's why you also see then this weird cross of German mysticism in Rosicrucian circles, especially say like Sabattendorf, Baron von Sabattendorf. Bevor Hitler is one of his books, but another one about Islamic Sufi Freemasonry. That's what he based his organization, his secret society on. His secret society was the secret society that was at the core of the German Workers' Party, and then when it became the NDSAP, it was all taken from him. He was sent back to Turkey as the not Secretary of State, but as an ambassador, because that's what he was. He was an ambassador and an artist and traveling artist, and so he's this ambassador who passes on what's supposed to be Rosicrucian secrets of Sufi Albanians, from what I gather. Now, why there's this fascination with the Axis-allied Ukrainians in Germany and Brussels now, fascination with the Albanian Kosovars, and Serbian and Yugoslavian Islamic, that kind of thing, that the EU does everything they can to protect these people from any repercussions for the tremendous amount of violence and chicanery they get into, and that the Ukrainians are known for being this really vicious mob. Albanians also known to be one of the worst mobs and criminal organizations in the world. So it's really odd that we then bailed them out, took their Axis governments over here, or placed them throughout different places in the world, and now it seems as if the Ouroboros is eating itself on all of this. It's low information literacy that the left didn't understand what we were starting to find, and especially because they didn't find, when it came down to straight up conspiracy theories, one of the things that got brought up that was beautifully put by this Muslim, and he goes, no, none of he goes, this is this weird fixation that you find specifically out of the anglicized world, that is the Islamic world is not the same on this. The Islamic world is very aware of all the internet conspiracy theories. They are talked about. Some that you all would think are just totally insane here in the West. Somebody confessed this about black people once. They were like, no, black people talk a lot about conspiracy theories, a lot. And then he goes, it's just that it goes from zero to special kind of stupid. But one of the things that really hit me was this Islamic dude was saying, he goes, no, the powerful believe in some of this stuff. He goes, a lot of wealth. He goes, these are wealthy people. These have consistently been smart people who read a lot. They're not people who have to make. They don't have to make money for somebody else and have to. These people don't get fired. They just don't. They're not in a world. They're in this world where they constantly game their way to the top, but they don't really produce. They don't really serve. They don't really produce. And one of the key things about this is they have to take on this understanding of themselves as from occult history. And he's like, no, really. They really believe this. This is why these people will look into their ancestors, and that you'll find, and I remember this clearly, that various kind of stars or something, they're later asked about the history of their lineage. Some people, it's like literally just like that. They're just from a humble background. But now and then, every once in a while, you'd stumble on somebody who their biography of some sort, that it's kind of a kooky story about like that they go back to this house or this, that, and the other. And he was like, no. A lot of these people believe this about themselves. They really believe there's something incredibly fucking special about them, and special about their lineage. He's like, he goes, Americans would have a hard time believing this because so many Americans are really very moderate, extremely mentally stable people. Well, he didn't say that, but that this was, I mean, it kind of becomes that, like, that most people, that just none of this would even matter to their daily life. This idea they've inherited some grand tradition from their ancient descent from Armenian princesses. And that's real. That's fucking, I'm not even kidding. There's whole sets of symbols that if you trace the symbols back far enough, supposedly they have something to do with Armenia. There's literally this one book that I'm going to have to go through, and it's going to be a slog. But that one Muslim, because he was like, where is all this coming from? Because his whole thing was, he's like, no, Western civilization, what are these people talking about? And so finally he had to go back into like occultism, because he's like, no, these royal houses, their claims are pretty outlandish if you look back on what their claims were. Just stuff that they would say about their past, and I was like, or even so this kind of informational understanding of the world and the powerful, that there's these people who believe themselves to be something other than human, beyond human, meta-human, superhuman. They have some view of the world that other people can't understand. And it's obviously it's a personality flaw. It's a personality trait. It's something that it just infects the minds of some people. But Eric Hoffer really gets into. He said once the family man, the average man, the family man. This is why they have no interest in such things. They just really don't have interest in such things because they can't afford to. Everything is real for them. They're in reality, and this is why also they tend to be happy, mentally stable. They're the stability of society. All these artist types, anything that's not reproducing and raising its children, are these quasi-unstable people in society. They're transients in time-space, wayfarers, just free souls and lost souls that did not heed wisdom. There is supposedly secrets out there, nuclear secrets. That's what this is about. They're trying to say that Trump did something with nuclear this, nuclear that, and they're saying an espionage act. That would mean that in some way, shape, or form he's attempting to do something with these secrets. So it's not Hillary Clinton and her massive amounts of secrets that got out. And that she had all this stuff on a server, and we have no idea what she let people know about, or didn't. It's not Hunter Biden. That the whole government has been covering up all this over. And it definitely has nothing to do with the possibility that Iran has been given nuclear secrets because of the JCPO, it's a PA or what, a JCOPA, because none of that's on paper anywhere. There is no agreed upon JCPOA. This isn't an agreed upon treaty. Nobody has said yes to this in any official way. This is just this thing that people just keep doing. It shouldn't even be allowed. It should not even be allowed to happen. But notice, wait, Iran. Oh, didn't I hear about them getting their shit pushed in by Israel, and Israel can't do that unless Saudi Arabia is going along with it. And so this means that the GCC possibly is now trying to get Iran to understand, oh, motherfuckers, we know, and we're going to start making this hurt now. This already hurts. We know this hurts now. We're going to make this hurt more. You're going to all of you guys, we're going to get rid of your entire governing body. You had your opportunities to try to turn this around. Now the Americans, the shadiest end of the Euro-American empire has apparently given you the plans to the bomb. That's it. And what's been happening? Joe Biden goes to Israel. They're like, hey, yeah, what's going on, Joe? Yeah. So this is why there's this part of me that people were like, oh, Israel. And he was like, congratulations, President Joe Biden, on your victory. There's this part of me that because it's the face of Benjamin Netanyahu with that weird smirk. And there's this part of me like, I've got a strange feeling. I got a strange feeling about this. That this is way more of like, yeah. And now we get to do whatever the fuck we want. And they have. Israel's been doing whatever the fuck they want. Saudi Arabia's like, how about you hop on one leg and bark like a dog? You know, it's like fucking coming, coming to America. It's coming to Saudi Arabia. Summoning to Saudi Arabia. And could you do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around? See, here's the difference. Everybody who, if there's some lefty dumb hog on here, use the keys, use the keyboard. Donald Trump, Saudi Arabia, sword dance. Thank you for the person who sent that to me. Because the way that you look at how Biden did in Saudi Arabia, and then you look at Donald Trump visits the Islamic world, big picture with all of them homies, oh, glowing globe, oh shit, big symbol that nobody wants to understand, but everybody does understand, who has high informational literacy. And then it's, oh, and they invited him to participate in the sword dance. But wait, what is the sword dance? Why were they doing the sword dance? And then, see, if you watch what events occur after that, it's like high informational literacy, that's the right. No. My new term, the deep right. Not the far right. The far right puts magnets on people's heads and are like, oh, the COVID vaccine, see, I'm magnetized. You know, I don't know. They you know, David Icke, I would say, maybe I would categorize as in the end of far right. And he has misses, he has hits, but his misses are like, woo-wee. You know, it's whoo, and he spins, somebody gets hit with the bat, the ref he throws the bat, hits a kid, you know. Just like, oh, god damn, what a miss. Yeah. Interesting strategy. Let's see how it works out. But the left, with all their projection of this and that, it's like, no, but you all have low informational, you're low information. You're really fundamentally low information. That's why the right had to network and all teach each other different aspects of information to fill in gaps in knowledge. That's why we kind of battle each other in this regard, and then we come out respecting one another like true men, because it's, and even women too, like everybody understand, was it sure enough, I'm about to say her name, and it's right there too, it's right on the tip of my tongue. White chick dated hard bastard. Oh, and it's right there on the. It's right there. But she did fantastic work on like, she does amazing videos, and really goes into like the numbers and the history of it, and the hard science of it, and just, I mean, amazing stuff, you know. And even if people want to detract from Lauren Southern, it's one of these things like, yeah, but she was in South Africa. She was in harm's way multiple times and exposed all this, and people really want to kill her now, like, for that. Sorry, bro. She gets mad respect. That's just how that works. She gets respect. So the deep right is going to win because it just, we know more. And people are now, the whole issue comes down to the FBI hid the former Axis members. They were key in hiding the Axis members. Something that is FBI, something that's NSA, something that's INS, and something that is CIA, all work together on this. Something that spans them all worked all together on this. And once you start to know more about, like, Reinhard Gehlen and how he helped the CIA and international intelligence, the international intelligence community actually even be formed, its fundamental methodologies, and all that. Once you know about that kind of thing, it really is that you realize, no, there's a much bigger game going on. Then when you find out that Gehlen, I have a book where, I mean, literally, Gehlen is meeting with the guy who creates the legal system for the EU. Him and Adenauer and Globka are all chilling and coordinating. So it's the Third Reich never lost, really. It just changed shape. The Bush family helped the Third Reich. Eventually they create the CIA. And then what they do is they buy the Republican Party. They bought it. They bought their way in. And that's why anybody who ever followed the Republican Party through the 80s and 90s, there was constantly a fight with the Bush element. Those guys were always fighting with this whole other element, and that element was always presented as stupid rubes who didn't understand the wisdom of moderate, that America had to take this leadership role and this and blah 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 blah, and they want to be isolationists. That the peace movement in the Republican Party had been called isolationist throughout the 80s and 90s. But you see, these children, these little babies, who are all these Antifa types, even the ones who would be my age, these are lunkos. A lot of these people are drunks and lunkos. They were lushes. They were people who were more interested in going to shows and looking good in their docks than they were ever some kind of real knowledgeable person about history. So, my feeling is that these idiots are trying to now cover up what they fucked up and did in the name of the JCPOA. I think they gave Iran the bomb. They gave because the other problem they have is that Iran might also be getting might have the Club K missile system as well from Russia. That they've been double dealing and that they have this unbelievably, and so for anybody, Club K missile system, if you haven't heard about it, because what did Ukraine ask for? They wanted our latest, the HIMAR or whatever missile system, but what did they ask for? They wanted it on a truck. And the reason why is because you set these things up, Russia just takes them out, because you have to have them somewhere with clearance around it, and then, yeah, and Russia just is like, oh, look, a missile system, and blows it to pieces. And so they want it on a truck, because it would be far more along the lines of something as mobile as something like a Club K missile system. So, and then if they get, tactical field nuke design technology, then that's that. They could start pulling that kind of thing off in the Middle East. And Israel's like, no, that's not going to happen. That's absolutely, positively not going to happen. And that's that. I mean, it's just they're going to do what they want, and Biden's going to not be able to do anything about it, because they're just, yeah. One of the interesting things too that's coming is look out for the fall. This fall is going to be nasty. It's going to be super nasty, and we're going to see green energy efforts fail massively. Green energy is going to fail this fall, and it is going to be bad. And politicians are going to be like, oh, we need to print money and make committees to discuss this. And, and people are going to go fucking wacko. It is going to be beautiful. People are going to go wacko willy. And it's going to be normal people who snap. Normal people with like children and families are going to fucking snap. And so I'm just hoping these idiots, these masked up black blockers, oh my god, I can't wait till they fuck up and fuck with the wrong people again. They're already starting to mess with bikers now. Dude, this is like one of these things. Like I grew up with Cambodians who would shank you, like, I mean, motherfuckers were shanking back in the day. And I mean, one of the things you don't ever do is fuck around with bikers. Holy shit. That's like talking about how, that's like spray painting on a Samoan church during mass. I mean, Hail Satan, like what did you think was gonna happen, motherfucker? And so that's gonna be amazing to just see Antifa getting eaten alive as they start trying to like think that they have some kind of thing that they have to protest about, and people are going to beat the fuck out of them. You're going to watch. Normal people are going to start snapping on these people, because it's going to be less and less for anybody to lose. And then also, all these wimpy-ass Democratic morons keep forgetting there aren't enough police. There aren't enough cops. Maybe some of these cities are going to have way more to do than deal with you guys getting your asses handed to you. That's one I didn't, at first I kind of wondered if that was going to happen, and then once it started to happen, I was like, wow, nobody was going to see that shit. Nobody was going to see that shit coming. That there was going to be, they were going to leave, and they weren't going to come back, and you weren't going to get anybody hiring on, and that it's happening in the military too. There was this part of me thinking that people would be like, I'm going to replace those men who have left, and I'm going to get shot by black people, and beaten by black people, and arrest black people who will then get out of jail, and then shoot at me, I like getting shot by blacks, and, so I just figured that was their bag, and so, but no, they're like, no, later. and the thing is, Portland's about to lose like another, like something by the end of this year. I think they're losing, I know it's somewhere around 20 to 40 by retirees. They've said at the end of the year they are leaving. That's something, I think, between 20 and 40 police officers. They, I think, at best are hiring a fraction of the replacements now. They're hiring them. It's going to take, it takes like 2 to 5 years for them to get, like, that they got the job down. This is going to be amazing. It's amazing how bad you guys have fucked this up. You had paradise and you fucking just flushed it down the toilet. And yeah, and this fall is going to be, oh, this is going to be a tough row to hoe by November. Oh, Democrats, liberals, progressives, this is going to be one tough row to hoe. You better hope to God that whatever this plot is kind of works out. Because my thinking is there's going to be a critical point at which the documents about no, there are nuclear secrets out there, and that people are going to start very quickly figuring out this is off of Hunter Biden's laptop or from Clinton or from some other stupid shit that the Democrats did at some point. And I personally think all of this, it has something to do with something stupid they did with the JCPOA. I just got this feeling about it. I'm just like, that would be so dumb. That would be so unbelievably dumb. That would be such a knife in the back to Israel and to Saudi Arabia. That would so explain then also why Saudi Arabia and Israel are acting the way they're acting. Had to put it out there. Later on, you all, I'll try to make something a little less rambly sooner than later. I want to actually do a kind of live thing. I shouldn't make many promises because I have to rearrange my room. This is the next 48 hours. I have to be doing that. So this is going to be interesting because I don't like doing that. But you have to do things you don't like or you don't improve in life. So later on.